Good morning everyone, I am Hydee Boado and I am the reporter for slide 2 to 5. The challenges of the Fillenials. Number 1. As a Fillenial, do you think that the many accessible technologies, resources is more of a help or distraction? For me, this is a big help, but for others it's not, because we have different views about technology, but sometimes this is distraction. But nowadays, there are no millennials who do not use technology because it also helps them, especially in learning. 2. As a millennial, do you get new skill and new knowledge on the uncensored web technology, or just a new addiction that will ruin your focus and priorities? Yes, I get new knowledge, but it doesn't hurt my priorities. It's addictive, but it also depends on the user. 3. As a millennial, what gives you more pressure, stress, or tension? For me, sometimes the signal can also give stress, especially when you are studying. Especially now that we are online, the signal is stressful when it disappears because you cannot attend the meeting. 4. How do you respond on the said pressure, stress, or tension? What is your outlet? The only thing I did to relieve my stress while waiting for the signal to come back, I just did other things while waiting for the signal to come back, because it will also come back just in case you don't keep up the lesson taught by the teacher. Much has been said about the millennial generation, entitled the impulsive, ambitious yet lazy, classic narcissists who refuse to grow up. The millennial word itself has continuously been used in the media to discredit and belittle in the entire group of individuals born between 1981 to 1996. Sinasabi daw na sinasabi na minamaliit daw ang mga nabuhay noong 1981 to 1996 dahil ginagamit daw ang salitang millennial. Tapos ang classic narcissist, this is the mental condition in which people have inflated senses of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. Regardless of the negative reputation millennials in general seems to effortlessly attract, the fact remains that they will soon dominate the workforce. With a population of 35 million strong, Filipino millennials are ready to shake and reshape the country's economic landscape. Ano man ang hindi ka nais-nais na nakukuha ng mga millennial bilang isang henerasyon ay nananatili na katotohanan sa kalaunan at nangingibabaw sila sa kanilang workforce. Ang mga Pilipinong millennial o Fillenials daw ay nakahanda na upang mabigla at muling tukuyin ang ekonomiya ng bansa na may populasyon na 35 million. According to a 2015 census by the Philippine Statistics Authority, Philippines comprise 53% of working age population with 45% employed. The strategic rate at which they descend on jobs means that they also have a growing purchase power. Businesses must learn how to better market their brands to this young consumer whose behaviors and ideals are drastically different from previous generation. Ayon do sa Census Philippines Statistics Authority noong 2015 daw, ang mga millennial ay bumubuo ng 53% ng populasyon sa edad na nagtatrabaho na may 45% sa kanila na may trabaho. Sila ay lumalagong makapangyarihan dahil sa pagbili, dahil din sa kamangamanghang rate kung saan ito ay bumababa sa mga trabaho. At dapat rin matutunan ng mga nagnenegosyo kung paano mas mahusay na i-advertise ang kanilang mga produkto sa mga kabataang ito. At kailangan din ang kanilang mga aksyon o adhikain ay kapansin-pansin at naiiba sa mga unang henerasyon. To successfully capture a stable Fillenial market base, one must first understand what they value, which is central to how they behave. Their characteristics, after all, are not just randomly selected options in a checkbox. They stem from principle that Fillenials respect. Indeed, despite how Fillenials are often viewed as the me generation obsessed, me, selfish, and perfect Instagram shot, they are actually politically and socially engaged. Upang mas matagumpayan daw na makakuha ng isang matatag na base ang Fillenial market, dapat daw mas maunawaan muna ng isa kung ano ang kanilang pinapahalagahan dahil ito ay critical sa kanilang pag-uugali. At ang kanilang mga katangian ay hindi lamang mga alternatibo sa isang checkbox. Ang mga ito ay batay sa pagpapahalaga sa mga pinangahawakan ng mga Pilipino sa kabila ng kanilang reputasyon bilang me generation na may kinalaman sa selfie at perpektong larawan sa Instagram. Ang mga Fillenials ay nakikibahagi ang mga Millennials din ay nakikibahagi sa politika at panlipunan. The Filipino youths are considered as the most valuable resources of the country. The Youth in Nation Building Act, RA 8044, which was enacted in 1995, established the National Youth Commission and National Comprehensive and Coordinate Program on Youth Development. This act defined the Filipino youth as those with ages 15 to 30. Currently, the Philippines have a projected 85.2 million population. The youth comprises more than 40% of the total population. Of this, 21% are enrolled in high school, tertiary, and vocational school. 22% are young peasant. 21% are contractual young workers in the urban areas, and 36% are unemployed and out of school, are poor, and 4% are working student. Sinasabing ang mga kabataang Pilipino ay maituturing na pinakamahalagang mapagkukuhanan ng ating mga bansa. Ang National Youth Commission Program on Youth Development ay itinatag daw noong 1995 ng Youth in National Building Act ng RA 8044. Ang mga kabataan Pilipino daw ay inilalarawan bilang mga individual sa pagitan ng edad na 15 to 30 sa ilalim ng batas na ito. Ang Pilipinas daw ay kasalukuyang may tinatayang populasyon na 85.2 milyong katao. Sa mga ito ay mayroong 21% na naka-enroll sa high school, tertiary, at vocational school. 22% daw ay ang mga kabataang magsasaka at 21% daw ang contractual na mga kabataang manggagawa sa kalunsuran. At 36% ay mga walang trabaho at walang pasok, at mayroon ding 4% ay ang working student.
So, good morning. My name is Joniel Dugan. I am reporting for 6-9 slide in the challenges of the Fillenials. So, RA number 8004, Act creating the National Youth Commission established National Comprehensive and Coordinated Program on Youth Development, appropriating funds therefore and for other purpose. So sa sinasabi dito sa Republic Act number 8844 ay 8004, ang mga gawaing republic na ito ay kilala bilang kabataan sa pambansang nagtatayo ng kabataan upang magawa ang kanilang mga tungkulin at mga responsibilidad sa lipunan, lalo na sa gusali ng nasyon ay estado na dapat magkaroon ng mga pundasyon upang magbigay ng suporta para sa mga programa na ipinapatupad upang makamit ang layunin. RA numbers 8044. The state hereby declares the youth is the critical period. It is a person growth and development from the onset of adolescence towards to peak of mature self-reliant responsible adulthood, comprising the considerable sector of the population from the age of 15 of 30 years. So sinasabi dito na ang kabataan ay kritikal na panahon sa buhay ng isang tao. Ay sa makatuwid, ang pambansang comprehensive, isang coordinate program sa pag-unlad ng kabataan ay dapat batay o pokus sa promosyon ang proteksyon ng mga pisikal na moral ng intelektual na lipunan ng isang lipunan na nagkakaroon ng mga kabataan na ito. Malalaman nila ang mga mas malakas na pagpapabuti ng kalidad ng buhay ng dapat ito ng evaluated sa kabataan ng mga protesismo ng nasyonalismo at ang iba pang kanais-nais na mga italaga na laging may panalig sa Diyos, ang lakas ng pagkakaisa ng pamilya, ang katotohanan at katarungan. RA number 004. Ito naman ang programa. Ito ay dapat tiyakin sa mga kabataan sapagkat sila ay hikayatin ng sumali ay makilahok sa pagbuo ng kanilang karakter at ang mga aktibidad sa mga pagpapaunlad dapat na maunawaan ng mga kabataan ang mga gampaning pang-ekonomiya at magkakaroon ng kaalaman, mga patakaran, batas upang mabawasan ang kahirapan sa halip ay mapabuti ang sosyo-ekonomiko pag-unlad. Dapat ding magkaroon ng mobilisasyon ang mga kabataan sa kanilang kakayahan, talento at kasanayan upang ang susunod na henerasyon ay malaya sa takot ng gutom at kawalan ng katarungan. Facts about topical Fillenials. This shows us about the percentage of how youths are describable nowadays. This is the reason why there must be different for youth to carry these differences. So 83% Filipino youth are still heavily reliant on their parents for advice as comprehensive to 73 globally, which is thus being socially applicable to live with parents 2 years is younger than global average of 32.22% of Filipino youth have a written negative comment about somebody they know higher than Asia Pacific average of 16%. So, thank you for our topic, this challenges Fillenials. So, thank you for listening to report the challenges Fillenials. So, my name is Joniel Dugan. I am Bet Auto 1C, and this is report of challenges of Fillenials.
Hi, good morning. I am Jan Patrick reporting 10 to 13. Getting to know the Fillenials. Millennials are generally the children of baby boomerangs and older genre. Fillenials is a term used to denote the Filipino millennials, aka Generation Y or the next generation. The demographic cohort directly following Generation X instead of Generation Y. With some psychologists thus consider millennials, including millennials, to be part of what is called Generation Me. Millennials are also labeled as a boomerang generation or Peter Pan generation. In her book, The Crowdedness Syndrome, Kathleen Shaptis calls millennials the Peter Pan generation because of their tendency to delay adulthood. Shaptis noted that many of the Peter Pan generation are living with their parents for longer period than any other generation in recent history. Down the road, the Brigham Young University one study found that today's college students define adulthood as something that is based on personal abilities and characteristics as opposed to my generation's definition that adulthood is based on certain traditional rites of passage. BYU's Dr. Larry Nelson also noted that some millennials may be delaying the transition from childhood to adulthood in an attempt to avoid some mistake, divorce, career, unhappiness, etc. that were made by their parents. Millennials are the Filipino millennials. They are a most puzzling phenomenon in the generation of humans that have ever come to be. Born at the dawn of a new age between 1980 to 2000, they are the first digital natives. They are socially connected that via multiple devices and are in some instances bordering on the obsessed with social media as with selfless. In the Philippines, 1/3 of the population is made up of millennials who are 15 to 35 years old. Filipino millennials in particular are known to be very active in social media. It has been reported that millennials are digital natives and thus grown up amidst social networks and changes. in the technology after 2016. They are the ones who are highly visible in the all media platforms, raising concern in a lot socio-political concerns of the country. They are the same generation which gave rise to movements such as the Arab Spring in Wall Street, voting in the Philippines, citing the Millennials are the same group of people who started volunteering during the onslaught of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, the power that gave rise to the 1 million March of Yes against the Priority Development Assistance Fund PDAP scandal, the huge voice opposing former President Ferdinand Marcos oral at the libingan ng mga bayan. Ang majority of them were also the same people who elected President Rodrigo Duterte as the Philippine 16th President. ABS-CBN News 2016. This is my topic, getting to know the Fillenials. I'm Jan Patok, Freo, bit 021C.
Renz Dometita, reporting 14 to 19 slides. The Arabic Spring was a series of anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Arabic world in the early 2010. It began in response to corruption, economic stagnation, and was influenced by the Tunisian Revolution. Protesters were motivated by many factors, but analysts say a common theme was a push for dignity. Also play a significant role, for instance, Islamist parties gained power in formerly secular Tunisia and Egypt. In the latter. Meanwhile, deep sectarian division helped give rise to the anti-government movement in Bahrain, Syria, and Yemen. Only Tunisia made a lasting shift to democracy, whereas Egypt backslid and Libya, Syria, and Yemen spiraled into protected civil wars. Many of the uprisings were led by students and other young people frustrated by government corruption and the lack of economic opportunities. Youth unemployment in the region remains the highest and has worsened several countries, reclining protests in some cases. Wall Street is used as umbrella term to describe the financial markets and the companies that trade publicly on exchange throughout the U.S. Wall Street has been the historical headquarters of some of the largest U.S. brokerage and investment banks, and it also home of the New York Stock Exchange. Young people are speaking up and taking action to address the world challenges. To help sharpen and evaluate their activism, the Millennial Manifesto presents 6 guiding principles. Read the report, Davis Labs Youth Recovery Plan. 10 years ago, the Arabic Spring and Occupy Wall Street made the world wake up to the increasing generational divide and the power of youth activism. Now, a decade later, as young people face the worst of the world, increasing socio-political and environmental crises, they are again inspiring change and taking action. Tired of accusation of young people being the problem, they are determined to be the solution. They're demanding that world leaders and businesses increase equity, protect our planet and ensure that no one left behind. And they taking the lead. Our commitment to creating positive change. We will create space for international dialogue. We will listen and learn from another past, present, and future. We will respect the global context and that all parts of world coexist. We will share learnings to avoid replication. We will test, tolerate, and improve our approach to become better leaders and ancestors. We will ask big questions to advance bold solutions. We will take time to learn why structures are the way they are and to know our community's history. Before we take action, we will recognize that co-creation begins with consultation to understand systems. We will make decision-making information accessible to be truly inclusive. We will pursue system change and collective action. We will build bridges within the across communities to strengthen the structures that work and dismantle those that don't. We will set ambitious goals and move from talk to action. We will focus on local changes that can lead to global transformation and celebrate our progress. Our commitment to creating positive change. We will make space for diverse lived experience. We will build authentic relationships with communities most impacted by inequalities and injustice. We will acknowledge why we are about issue and who we are in relationship to them. We will join forces, share power, and make decisions in open and transparent ways. We will embrace comfortable conversation. We will surrender our privileges and give everyone a seat at the table. We will engage to listen, understand, and co-create solutions. We will create brave spaces for ideas to be heard, questioned, and challenged. We will recognize the complex intersectionally or social change. We will care for ourselves, others, and ecosystems. We will be kind and considered. We will practice self and community care. We will safeguard mental health and well-being. We will find balance between patience and impatience. We will be authentic, vulnerable, and radically exclusive. We will protect our planet and common futures.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, everyone. So I will be continue the reporting about the challenges of the Fillenials in 2024. So Millennials do have constructing characteristics compared to the previous generations. Given the advancement in technology, the dynamics and rapid changes in the international community, Millennials tend to be more social aware in their surroundings and to community they belong to us, as they expose the significant social changes globally, such as start and speak globalism, terrorism attacks such as the September 11 bombing and internet age. Some of the traits attribute to Millennials nowadays are being civic-minded. They highly value the balance their respective works and lives, able to conduct multitasking and team-oriented, which draws difference with the generations. Sinasabi nga dito na ngayon ay naiiba tayo sa mga Millennials noon dahil sa mga technology na dumaan sa atin. Tayo lang ang nakatanggap ng pagbabago na parang technology. Dahil sa technology, nagbago ang mga galaw ng mga Millennials ngayon, di tulad ng mga dati. Dahil sa technology, nagbabago ang sistema ng mga Millennials. And in page 21, I want to this on my own terms. He quotes, "Basic premise of millennial decision making, so whatever decision that is, it must be my own, not influenced by anyone. If I fail based on the decision, okay lang. Decision ko yan. I accept it and I learn from it. Sinasabi nga dito, I want to these things my own. Sa kanya lang daw, sa kanya. Sa kanya lang na parang sinasarili niya ay yung decision niya dahil sa kanya lang. Kasi decision lang naman niya eh. And the worst thing that you can tell millennials is you cannot do it. He continues. To them, that's violating the very being on what they stand for. They must find out things for themselves. They appreciate advice and appreciate encouragement, and they appreciate leads and they appreciate guides. Sinasabi nga dito, sinasabi nga doon, sa kanila iyon ay paglabag sa pagiging tunay na nila sa kanilang paninindigan. Gusto nila na dapat alamin nila ang mga bagay para sa kanyang sarili. Sinasarili na lang nila ang para sa kanila. So by 2025, millennials are estimated to account for 72% of the global workforce. This means that attitudes and traits these self-involved, self-taking individuals are what will be shaping various industries, both as workers and consumers. That's why so much extensive research is being done to get better picture of them. Sinasabi dito, estimated na yung mga millennials na in 2025, 7% ang global workplace. Sinasabi doon na nangangahulugan ito na ang mga ugali ng mga self-involved, self-taking na mga individual na ito ay siyang humuhubog sa iba't ibang industriya, kapwa bilang manggagawa at mamimili. And then 23, the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on incomes and livelihood has made millennials the generation Gen Z, Filipinos aware of their financial health, pushing them save future needs. According to the survey conducted by Manufacturers Life Insurance Co. Philippines, INC Manulife Philippines. Sinasabi dito ang impact ng coronavirus ay nagiging pagsama sa kabuhayan ng mga millennials. What we found through the study is that the pandemic actually has been game changer for these two generations. They have become, what we found through the study is the pandemic actually has been the game changer of these two generations. They become much more financial conscious because their top stressor or their number of worrying during this time is running out of money, said Melissa Henson, Manulife Philippine Chief Marketing Officer, in the press briefing on Wednesday. Sinasabi nga dito ang dahil sa pandemic ay nag-iba ang mga kabuhayan ng mga millennials, naging challenge na nila ang dahil sa pandemic ay naging challenge sa kanila ang pagpasok sa kanilang mga pagpasok sa kanilang paaralan at nakakasama sa kanila dahil nga sa pandemya ay nakakasama ito sa mga buhay ng mga tao. Sa nagiging kulang na ang kanilang mga pera na nawawala na kaunti-unti, and no worry about sa mga dati na ginawa or nagawa nila dati noon na wala pang pandemya. So in page 24, how else do you think the pandemic affected the Fillenial society? And my answer is, what more does this pandemic bring to us, the Fillenial? Honestly, rather than adjusting to this kind of change, we also adapt the new changes that affects today's society. Basically, we already feel the new kind of learning or study through online or virtual education. What new is that studying today became hassle-less, and we can also save financial, but still some meetings, some projects and activities are still the same. And lastly, we also enjoyed the quality time being with our family. At sinasabi nga dito sa aking sagot ay dati ay nag-adjust pa tayo. Dati ay wala pang pasok, mga trabaho, ang mga tao. Ngayon ay na-adapt na natin, nagkakaroon ng adapt na new changes sa pagpasok sa paaralan, nagkakaroon ng online working, online studying, mga virtual na pagpasok sa paaralan. Ngayon ay nagiging tanggap na natin ang dahilan nito. Sa ngayon ay nasasanay na tayo sa pagpasok na pamamagitan ang online class. And number 2, were the changes in you brought by the pandemic, being Fillenial more in the positive or negative aspect? For me, the changes brought by this pandemic for me is more on negative aspect. Negatibo sa aking sarili aspect. Because at first, it's really hard for us, the Fillenial, to adjust this kind of vicious situation treated by this COVID-19 pandemic. We miss those days that we are together doing many things without face masks or face shields and without social distancing. I also miss the day where I can go anywhere without any restriction from the government. We also face the very hard situation like lockdowns that treated our financial situation and our daily lives. It's just so sad today generation that they are restricted and controlled to do things because of this pandemic, like having freedom again. Thank you.
The survey also shed light on the financial product types that the Millennials and Gen Zs owned, with insurance coming out on top at 79% for Millennials and 69% for Gen Z. Government savings programs or bonds came second at 78% and 50% respectively, while cryptocurrency was third at 60% and 40%. Sabi dito, binigyang liwanag din ng survey ang mga uri ng produktong financial na pag-aari ng mga millennial at Gen Z, na may insurance na nangunguna sa 79% para sa mga millennial at 68% para sa Gen Z. Mga programa sa pagtitipid ng gobyerno o mga bono ay pumangalawa sa 78% at 50% ayon sa pagkakabanggit, habang ang cryptocurrency ay pangatlo sa 60% at 40%. The survey, which covered 200 millennial respondents born from 1981 to 1996 and 300 Gen Z respondents aged 15 to 24 years old, found that this generation prioritize staying healthy and avoiding illness, with the majority 87% saying they want to save in case something might happen to them. Ang sabi naman dito, ang survey na sumaklaw sa 200 millennials respondents na pinanganak mula 1981 to 1996 at 300 Gen Z respondents na may edad 15 hanggang 24 taong gulang ay natagpuan ng mga henerasyon at inuuna ang pananatiling malusog at pag-iwas sa sakit na karamihan. Popular saving methods include putting away money every pay period of every month 82% and following a monthly budget 75%. As we have learned in the past, health concern lead to greater financial concerns, plus the economy and its effect on job loss has led them to shift their priorities a little bit and focus on needs rather than wants, said Ms. Hanson. Despite the focus on spending on necessities, findings revealed the members of Gen Z tend to reward themselves more, citing declining mental health due to exposure to toxic social media and fears getting ahead. On the other hand, working respondents express more concern over debt and job loss. Sabi naman dito, kabilang sa mga sikat na paraan ng pag-iipon, ang pag-iipon ng pera sa bawat panahon ng sweldo o bawat buwan, at pagsunod sa isang buwanang budget. At tulad ng natutunan natin sa nakaraan, ang mga alalahanin sa kalusugan ay humahantong sa mas malaking alalahanin sa pananalapi. Dagdag pa, ang ekonomiya at ang epekto nito sa pagkawala ng trabaho ay humantong sa kanila na baguhin ang kanilang mga prioridad ng kaunti at tumuon sa mga pangailangan sa halip na kagustuhan. To deal with stress, 84% of all respondents cited sleep as a coping mechanism, with 76% saying they cope by enjoying a proper meal. Interestingly, the survey found that around 25% of Gen Z's purchase K-pop merchandise. As a generation born into the digitized world, Gen Z has also made inroads in pursuing financial security earlier, with the average Gen Z starting to save at 17 years old and starting to invest at 21 years old. Meanwhile, Millennials surveyed started saving only at 23 years old and investing at 27 years old. Both generations, however, have been growing money, with Millennials casting a wider net due to age, experience, and business goals. Ang sabi dito, upang harapin ang stress, sa 84% ng lahat ng mga sumasagot ay binanggit ang pagtulog bilang isang mekanismo ng pagkaya, na may 76% na nagsabing na nakakayanan nila sa pamamagitan ng pagtamasa ng tamang pagkain. At kapansin-pansin na laman ng survey na humigit kumulang 25% ng mga Gen Z ay bumibili ng K-pop merchandise. Bilang isang henerasyon isinilang sa digitalized na mundo, ang Gen Z ay nakagawa na rin ng inroads sa pagtataguyod ng seguridad sa pananalapi ng mas maaga, na ang karaniwang Gen Z ay nagsimulang mag-ipon sa 17 taong gulang at nagsimulang mamuhunan sa 21 taong gulang. At ang sabi dito, ang parehong henerasyon gayon pa man ay lumalaki ng pera kung saan ng mga millennial ay nagbibigay ng mas malawak na net dahil sa edad, karanasan at mga layunin sa negosyo. Starting a business is something that emerged quite strongly. These young Filipinos have very entrepreneurial aspirations, said Miss Henson. Because of that, they're taking a long-term, well-balanced approach to not just saving, but also growing their money to make sure that they can achieve those goals. The takeaway from the survey, according to Miss Henson, is the importance of early financial literacy. There is so much information accessible to Gen Z. They really grew up in an already digitized world, so they have become aware much earlier. We need to engage with Gen Zs that are still in school because they are already showing interest. Ang pagsisimula daw ng isang negosyo ay isang bagay na medyo malakas na lumitaw. Ang mga kabataang Pilipinong ito ay may napakalaking entrepreneurial aspirations. At dahil dyan, nagsasagawa sila ng pangmatagalan at well-balanced na diskarte sa hindi lang pag-iipon, kundi pagpapalaki din ng kanilang pera para siguraduhin na makamit nila ang mga layuning iyon. At ang take-away mula sa survey ayon kay Ms. Henson ay ang kalagahan ng maagang financial literacy. Napakaraming impormasyon na na-access sa Gen Z. Lumaki talaga sila sa isang naka-digitize na mundo, kaya mas maaga silang namulat. Kailangan nating makipag-ugnayan sa mga Gen Z na nasa paaralan pa dahil nagpapakita na sila ng interes.
So, good morning everyone. My name is Markbrian Jamisola and I'm going to report slide 29 to 33. Top 5 traits of a typical Fillenial. According to a 2015 census by the Philippine Statistics Authority, Fillenials comprise 53% of the working age population with 45% employed. To successfully capture a stable Fillenial market base, one must first understand what they value, which is essential to how they behave. Their characteristics, after all, are not just randomly selected options in a checkbox. They stem from principles that Fillenials respect. Indeed, despite how Fillenials are often viewed as the mid-generation obsessed with selfies and the perfect Instagram shot, they are actually politically and socially engaged. So what are the traits of a typical Fillenial? They are tech-savvy. Millennials spend 5 to 10 hours a day consuming numerous online content, and that's a modest estimate. As digital natives, they are a highly mobile generation who really on technology to help them perform their jobs better. Karamihan sa mga millennial ngayon, mas mga cellphone, laptop, mga ngayon, mga technology na sa pagtrabaho, gamit sa pagtrabaho. Millennials don't just love consuming content but also sharing it within their circles. Whether it's eating, drinking out, or watching films, they like documenting their experience and letting other people know about it. Perhaps even get influenced by it on some level. Each real-life activity is a digital activity and vice versa. Karamihan sa mga millennials ngayon, sa mga pag-picture kung kumakain, kung sa labas, kung saan sila pumunta. Mahilig selfies, pictures. They will pay for experience. Millennials wants to experience life the best way possible with their friends, and they are willing to pay for it. They like traveling and they even view it as necessity rather than a luxury. They would rather attend the actual concert than to buy bands merchandise. They always crave new adventure and discoveries and want to put till in mundanity of everyday. Karamihan sa millennials ngayon, masyadong magastos. Handa silang gumastos, ma-experience lang kung yung talagang gusto nila. Mga concert, willing sila magastos travel para sa experience. Millennials consumers appreciate brands that put value to their experience. Something exotic, adventurous, memorable, and perhaps a little bit dangerous. An astounding 98% of participants in a survey conducted by Factory 360 admitted that they are more inclined to buy a product when they participate in a experiential campaign. They love good content. Fillenials like witty and thought-provoking content. They are just likely to share branded posts as they are to share a photo from a friend. They just have to find it a story they can relate or even simply find funny. Just take a look at the hugot culture that has been making its rounds in brands, who utilize heartbreaking but humorous one-liners to connect easier and better with their markets. Karamihan yun, sa mga millennials, ang Facebook, mga shared posts, kung anong uso, yan, Facebook, Instagram, and tsaka mga hugot-hugot. This is a example ng mga mga hugot-hugot, mga shared posts, mga content, yan, sa Facebook. Ito. Yan, hanggang dito lang. So, thank you for listening. My name is Markbrian Jamisola, BET O21C. Thank you.
Do you think that millennials today are thinking more of venturing into a business or applying for a job? Millennials prefer in venturing business than finding jobs because they think that they can earn more money than working. From a millennial's point of view, how would you say that a post has a good content? For me, it depends on the user if he or she intends to post a good or bad content. Each individual has a different perspective and all. They have their own will to post what they want, either good or bad. Top 5 traits of a typical millennial. They have a selective attention span. In a study conducted by a Kilton Research, millennial business professionals reported that they can increase attention span. However, they became more selective in the content they pay attention to. When selecting content to consume, millennials consider a solid narrative and the story behind the content. Video and animated visuals also help in keeping them engaged. They go at their own pace. Millennials live by their own terms. They solve problems and make decisions through processes they made for themselves and don't like anything that hinders their creativity. Millennials love their individuality. Brands can knock on this creativity, sensibility through personalized or out of the box ads with a power socially relevant message that make it easy to forget their ads in the first place. What does living life on your own terms mean? The phrase life on your own terms can and will mean different things to each individual. For our purposes, though we'll define it as the following. Life on your own terms means the ability to live a life that is meaningful and fulfilling to you. It means being able to enjoy quality time with your family, while also having a purpose-filled career that provides financial freedom. It also means having the time, freedom, and flexibility to pursue the things that matter most to you, whether that is travel, volunteering, fitness, or any number of other hobbies or an interest. When we started life on your own terms, we wanted to create a team of people who desire to be more, do more, and live more. We believe that with the right company and the right support system and tools, living life on your own terms is possible. Why does living life on your own terms matter? Many people go through life without purpose or plan. They feel stuck in their jobs, believing that the only way to provide for their family is to work long hours. Some people are so overwhelmed by the bills they have to pay that they have no extra money for the things they truly enjoy. Others are working jobs that they simply don't enjoy, feeling unhappy each and every day. Many moms make the decision to stay at home and raise their children, but they don't feel fulfilled because they aren't using their professional talents and skill. We believe that there is another way. You don't have to stay stuck in a job you hate or work crazy hours in order to keep a lifestyle you desire.
I am Ann Corral and this is my part of our topic. Consumer surveys indicate that people between the ages of 23 and 38 have different goals than those of their parents. Financial security and peace of mind remain priorities, but things like a steady job and home ownership aren't as important to millennials as to earlier generations. Instead, emotional needs rank higher on millennials' list than do material needs. For example, over a third 36% of millennials survey respondents states feeling happy as a goal, and 33% say it's essential to have the freedom to focus on individual wishes and needs. So, ayon raw sa isang survey, ang mga taong edad 23 hanggang 38 o mas kilala sa tawag na millennial ay naiiba raw ang paraan ng kanilang pagdidiskarte sa buhay kumpara sa mga unang henerasyon. Bagamat, hindi mawawala sa kanila ang paghahangad ng mapagkukunan ng financials para sa araw-araw na pamumuhay. Sinasabing mas mataas ang bilang ng porsyento ng emotional needs para sa millennial kaysa sa mga material needs. Kumbaga, mas binibigyang halaga at mas pinagtutuunan nila ng pansin ang mga bagay na makakapagdulot sa kanila ng kasiyahan kaysa sa mga material na bagay. Marketers trying to reach their age group, which makes up about a quarter of the current global population, need to understand the difference between this generation and the one before it. It's challenging to craft a marketing message if you don't know your audience. So, ang mga marketers raw ay kinakailangan na maunawaan at mapag-aralan ang pagkakaiba ng henerasyon ng mga millennials sa mga naunang henerasyon upang marahil maging matagumpay ang kanilang hangarin at ika nga, mahihirapan sila sa pagbuo ng isang marketing o business kung wala silang alam sa background ng kanilang mga consumer o mamimili. Most millennials came of age around the time of the global economic recession that began in 2007. They've known financial discords most of their adult lives, so millennials feel like they deal with different challenges than their parents did. It's important to understand those challenges when marketing to millennials who might want to buy a home or drive a nice car, but feel like that's out of their reach. Messaging must mesh with their mindset, and millennials are far less concerned with material possession than their predecessors were. Instead, they're focused on concrete, practical, and lasting ways to boost their happiness and that of their loved ones, not in physical good that might give them short-lived pleasure. Messaging should thus appeal to emotion, as emotional success is a more honest form of success to millennials. So, it is important daw na kapag tayo ay nagmamarketing o nagbibigay ng mensahe sa mga millennial, kinakailangan na i-consider natin yung mga pananaw nila sa buhay. Mahalaga na malaman natin ang isang millennial ay walang gaanong concern sa mga material possession kumpara sa mga nakaraang henerasyon. Bagkus, mas pina-priority nila ang mga bagay o anumang kaganapan sa buhay nila na talagang namang makakapagbigay sa kanila ng ibayong saya pati na rin sa kanila mga mahal sa buhay. At hindi ang mga physical na bagay na magbibigay lamang sa kanila ng panandaliang saya o kaginhawaan. Almost half, 47% of millennials believe that their dream is different from their parents because social norms have changed. There's less of an expectation to graduate from school and work your way up the corporate ladder for 30 plus years. There's also less pressures to stay at home and start a family. Those things aren't automatically successes anymore. So sabi dito, 47% raw ng mga millennials ay naniniwala na ang kanilang mga pangarap sa buhay ay iba kumpara sa kanilang mga magulang dahil ang paniniwala at pamantayang panlipunan ay nagbabago. Kumbaga, ibang-iba na ang behavior and attitudes ng mga millennials kumpara sa mga nagdaang henerasyon. Another 39% of millennials believe that technological development over the years has contributed to widely different possibilities for success and how to achieve it. The internet has changed the way people work. Video streaming has changed the way entertainment is consumed. Social media networks have altered how news is delivered. Millennials are the first generation to exist an online world. So ayon naman dito, 39% naman raw ng mga millennials ay naniniwala na ang nakatulong ang pagkakaroon ng mga makabagong teknolohiya para sa mga kanilang pagkamit ng tagumpay sa buhay. Ang international network or simply ang internet ay talaga namang unti-unting binabago ang ating pamumuhay. Halimbawa na lamang ang video streaming at ang mga social media networks na talaga namang binago na ang mga pamamaraan mula sa pakikipagkomunikasyon sa kapwa. Sa pagbibigay impormasyon at libangan ng mga tao, hindi natin maikakaila na lubos niyang nakatutulong ang mga makabagong teknolohiya dito sa ating lipunan. So, sinasabi na millennials are the first generation to exist in an online world. Sila ang unang henerasyon na nakaranas ng pagkakaroon ng internet. Not only is the world different now, it's also viewed through an entirely different lens by millennials. It's a generation that consumes marketing, but it must be on their terms. These new social norms must present themselves in the message, and the message itself need to be available when, where, and how millennials want to consume content, not just how the marketer wants to deliver it. Marketing has always been about leading consumers to where they already want to go. It's the same thing with millennials, but it's important to remember where they came from, as well as where they want to go, are different from past generations. In other words, millennials are original, which can be challenging but also exciting, thought-provoking, and enlivening. So, palagi raw tatanda na ang mga millennial ay iba ang paraan ng kaisipan kumpara sa mga nagdaang henerasyon. Mahalaga sa alang-alang ang mga interest at kaisipan ng mga millennial pagdating sa pagmamarketing. What is your idea about this seemingly opposite thought? Financial security and peace of mind remain priorities, but things like a steady job and home ownership aren't as important to millennials as to earlier generations. I thought it is because millennials give more concern on things that can give them lasting happiness and success than material needs. They face and experience different societal changes. That's why they think different than past generations. They are more concerned with their lives on how to be able to enjoy quality time with family, such as having travels, time freedom, and etc. Say you have a 100,000 pesos. What will you do with this money? Honestly, if I have a 100,000 pesos, I will going to use it for fixing and reconstructing our house, for buying our basic necessities such as food and clothes, for having travels with my loved ones and other concerns. Is this true? Emotional needs rank higher on millennials' list than do material needs. Why or why not? Maybe yes, because as what I have learned, millennials more focusing on concrete, practical, and lasting ways to boost their happiness and that of their loved ones, not in physical goods that might give them short-lived pleasure.
The advantage of being a millennial in the Philippines, they are technology proficiency. 2. Millennial people have a higher knowledge of education and a better mindset in their future. 3. Millennial people are multitasking and know what the latest updates in the Philippines. Number 1. Yeah, tama. Kasi ang advantage ngayon ng millennial dito sa Pilipinas ay ito na yung mga generation kung saan alam na lahat kung paano gamitin mga technology. At ang millennial din ngayon ay mas napapalalim ang kaalaman tungkol sa technology. Millennial people are disadvantaged are their attitude. They are too liberate that someone they forget to be nice and proper in the same circumstances. Minsan mga millennials ay nakaka-distract din mga attitude kasi minsan nagiging mayabang na din yung mga tao, yung mga millennial ngayon. Millennial na all too aggressive. Tama. The Filipino youth are called millennials, sometimes are too stubborn. Filipino millennials are very engaged in using gadgets and modern technology that sometimes they feel that without modern technology, they become nothing. Yeah. Sa panahon kasi ngayon, kailangan na ngayon yung technology kasi ito na ngayon yung mga pangunahing kagamitan para makasabay sa modern new world. Filipino are called millennial. Those who update in social media are very independent on the modern technology. They are good at copying and following the latest in social media. Thinking about the important that what is not important to their needs. They are not ignorant people compared to before. Millennial people are those who shop online and make their time for interesting and useful. They are also millennial people who work online while staying in their house and do their obligation as a housewife. These women are the millennials with the purpose to help their husbands in terms of financial stability. Even they stayed at home, they still think about how they can spend their time to make an income by using the internet, social media. This is no age for being millennial. You can do too old or too young, and even a child can be called a millennial. Now at this modern day, And at this modern technology, being millennials is what we follow and what we need to be. Kailangan na makasabay na sa mga araw-araw na pagbabago ng modern day. Tulad na lamang sa technology, kailangan ang technology para malaman mo, para makasabay ka sa pagiging sa millennial.
Major dilemma of Fillenials. One major dilemma that a lot of millennials are currently facing has something to do with what's inside their wallets. Spending habits. These are the magic words that will soon become one of the younger generation's toughest problems. Of course, we can blame ourselves for blowing our paychecks in pursuit of a new pair of shoes, a new wardrobe, or a round-trip ticket to anywhere in the world to play it. Freo have unconsciously adopted the YOLO, you only live once mindset, and it's slowly killing us. Slide 56. Major dilemma of Fillenials. While rewarding yourself after a month's worth of hard work is good, most of us forget to see the bigger picture. Saving is crucial if you feel like you're always scrolling a week before payday to make ends meet. Chances are your spending habits are to blame. Financial capability is the opportunity to put knowledge into practice, says Dr. Terry Friedline, Assistant Professor at the University of Kansas School of Social Welfare. Truth be told, most millennials are fortunate to get a college degree, so we have to be smarter with our choices, finances included, and it's not difficult to save money either. If our parents did it, why can't we? 7. Moral dilemma of Fillenials. Millennials observed 49% of workplace misconduct, the highest of all generations. The types of misconduct observed include personal business on a company time, 26%, lying to employees, 22%, abusive behavior, 21%, company resource abuse, 21%, discrimination, 18%. Of those millennials who observed unethical behavior, 67% of them reported the misconduct, which included stealing or theft, 74%, falsifying expense reports, 71%, goods or service failed to meet specifications, 69%, falsifying time sheet or hours work, 68%, offering improper payments or bribes to public officials, 67%. Slide 58. Moral dilemma of Fillenials. All age group tends to inform their supervisors, whom they know well and can trust, about misconduct. They observe only a small percentage of workers went outside their organizations with their initial complaints. It doesn't surprise me that a high percentage of millennials consider certain behaviors in the workplace to be ethical, including using social networking to find out about the company's competitors, 37%. Friending a client or customer on a social network, 36%. Uploading personal photos on a company network, 26%. Keeping copies of confidential documents, 22%. Working less to compensate for cuts in benefits or pay, 18%. Buying personal items using a company credit card, 15%. Blogging or tweeting negatively about a company, 14%. Taking a copy of work software home for personal use, 13%. Slide 59. Most importantly, The report states that younger workers are significantly more willing to ignore the presence of misconduct if they think that behavior will help save jobs. Willingness to let the ends justify the means seems to have a strong inverse correlation with age. According to the report, concerns me the most. The utilitarian ethics of the ends justifies the means is most closely associated with an utilitarian analysis of harms versus benefits. If the benefits obtained to the individual exceed the harms to others, then the individual might rationalize unethical behavior as benefiting more than it harms. A means versus reasoning can lead to covering up unethical behavior in the workplace, covering up one's personal wrongdoing and rationalizing unethical behavior as somehow justified by the circumstances. The workplace of tomorrow will become an unhealthy environment if each person is out themselves, regardless of the consequence of their behavior on others. Thank you. That is slide 55 to 59. Moral dilemma, Fillenials. Thank you po.